One of the most important things Palantir's done on the battlefield is be able to make up for the fact that half your enterprise doesn't even work on the battlefield. It does work in a lab, on a PowerPoint. For example, if you just take Ukraine as an example, how hard could it be to move a drone from A to B?
It's my pleasure to introduce Alex Karp. I want to just start off on something more intimate between he and I. I'm pretty proud of what I created at BlackRock, but my total return since I've been a CEO is only compounded at 21%. Since Alex and Palantir went public, his compounded return is 73%. So congratulations, Alex. As co-founder and CEO of Palantir, Alex has closely worked with defense and governments, private organizations to apply how AI can be used, and it's really important. And I must say, my conversations that I've had with Alex over the last year has really enlightened me. So I'm looking forward to this, Alex. So let me just start off from your perspective. How is AI supporting decision-making in defense and security?
One of the most important things Palantir's done on the battlefield is be able to make up for the fact that half your enterprise doesn't even work on the battlefield. It does work in a lab, on a PowerPoint. For example, if you just take Ukraine as an example, how hard could it be to move a drone from A to B? Actually, first of all, you're going to need to know where you want to put the drone, and that's going to require synchronizing all your data without transferring that data to your adversary, which means you're going to have to know every single person who touched it. You're going to have to obfuscate it to the final thing. Then you're going to want to do it presumably either within the accordance of your strategy or with your ethics. So where does it not go? Do you want to put the drone on your asset? Only two people in Ukraine may know that one of the generals is your asset. You can't tell people that's your asset. How do you make it look like to your soldiers that you actually were taking people out and you just missed your asset? And then the war advances, so the Russians began jamming electronics. So now you have a completely different problem. Now it's not a question of going from A to B, it's a question of going through a completely jammed environment where you have no connectivity while actually collecting data while you go through that environment. And every one of those things is like a dynamic challenge, none of which were foreseen even before the Ukraine. By the way, the other thing is, then people fight differently. The Ukrainians, it's a small team of people and very courageous soldiers that are very technical. They have highly technical people that get built on top of our product, things that we don't understand and proprietary ways of using the product. And then in America, you just have massive force, but they had to be integrated. So every one of those things is different.
Sure.
And so the twofold role of enterprise software on a battlefield is, one, to make sure all the underlying things actually works, and then two, to raise the level to a level no one else has in the world.
There's so much technology that was created from defense, whether it was the internet, GPS. How do you envision this translating from defense and military to corporations, to businesses, to society?
On the battlefield, one of the most important issues is how do you acquire data, process it, and then put it into a framework. In the end of the day, what is a business doing? It's information, it's sorting the information in a way that you have a distinct advantage over other people who are similarly situated, and that advantage can't be eviscerated easily. When you approach the underwriter or the hospital, we power tons and tons of hospitals.
Right.
They have an intake problem. They all have an intake problem. They all have a shortage of doctors and nurses. They are working in a low margin environment. But every single one has a different way of processing their patients according to what their specialty is and the kind of patients they don't do well with, and how do you manage that? And so the intake flow and into your enterprise in a way that you can actually process these things 10, 15 times faster than you could.
So what is the basic hindrance in the adoption of AI?
Our adoption accelerates beyond our capacity. The problem with adoption at this point is people have tried things that just can never work. Like borrow a large language model, you put it on your stack, and you wonder why it's not working. And so what you're going to see, especially in America, is people trying to do something like what we do with ontology, maybe by hand. because once you build a software layer to orchestrate and manage the large language models in a language that your enterprise understands, you actually can create value. And again, if you go back to the battlefield context, like everybody in the world assumed this would not work, but now it does work. And so now the question isn't, does it work, but how can we get it to work for my country? And this is exactly what's happening
in companies.
In companies. It's like, oh, this company, it worked, mine didn't. What are you doing?
How rapidly can AI change the growth trajectory?
In a lot of these things, there's a speed question. I think, like with a lot of our companies, we can take out, in the area we go in, up to 80% of your cost and improve your top line dramatically. But it really depends on the use case and what we're doing. In the past, 5 years ago, that would take us a year. Now it could take a week.
Yeah. Is AI going to create jobs or destroy jobs overall?
There will be more than enough jobs for the citizens of your nation, especially those with vocational training. I do think these trends really do make it hard to imagine why we should have large-scale immigration unless you have a very specialized skill.
Are you also insinuating we're probably going to need less white collar?
You know, there are a lot of people doing X that should be doing Y. Like, just the person managing our Maven system in the U.S. Army is a former police officer who I think went to a junior college. And they're doing very high-end, very complicated targeting globally. And that person actually is irreplaceable. And I think in the past, the way we tested for aptitude would not have fully exposed how irreplaceable that person's talents are. And would they have been as talented if they had not gone to their college? Yes. If you look at inside Palantir, what am I really doing all day? I'm walking around figuring out what is someone's outlier aptitude. And then I'm putting them on that thing and trying to get them to stay on that thing and not on the 5 other things they think they're great at.
So is AI going to create greater imbalance in our world in terms of growth?
One way to look at the unfairness of AI is it pen tests, meaning it load bears on things. So societies that can, and organizations and companies that can bear that load have a huge advantage. The problem is if you've been pretending you're bearing a load you're not, it collapses, and that's where you have to start. And there's a certain honesty that is painful for all of us in this technology. You just cannot obfuscate what can bear the load and what can't. And then political structures are built to do just that. Like, I can't fix anything, but I can give you some bullshit line that you want to hear that's going to make you not care about how bad your life is and how much worse it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can do, and you really care for the people you're representing, is to say, you have to kind of look closely at what load we can bear.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.